Welcome to episode 8 of We Should Run the AFL. I'm Jez.
And I'm Wally. And on next week's show, we are going to review round 0. We're going to talk about round 0 in a second and things that have happened there. No, sorry. Yes, that's right. And we're going to preview round 1. We're flying. Good start. And we're also going to talk about some controversial or unusual positional changing thoughts that we've had. Woo, look at us go.
We're always controversial. But on this week's episode, we are going to do the shortest review of the preseason you will ever come across, and then we will launch into the main season and opening round, just the whole season in general. And so just quickly, the preseason, the review from my end was great. How about you, Wally?
Yeah, loved it. So we actually went and saw Collingwood Richmond, which was actually really cool to be back at the footy and watching a game. And it was at Icon Park, and it was actually pretty packed. I don't know how many it holds in there now, but it was mostly filled up, and there was a good vibe there. And yeah, it was really nice being back at the game. That was cool. And yeah, we don't know a lot else. We sort of glanced at the other ones and have noticed some injuries. There's discussions on players pushing other players into a contest, and there's been a few injuries, and there's potential for reports even there, some people are saying. So I know Matthew Lloyd was all over it, saying he reckons they should get like 3 weeks and for pushing them. And because players have been, shoulder injuries and stuff from having it, and concussions and stuff like that.
Broken jaw, I think, as well. That Richmond player. Yeah,
Layla or whatever. Yeah, so
that's an interesting one. We should probably have thought about talking about that on this episode, but maybe we can talk about that at another stage. I'm sure there'll be more controversy around that particular one as the season unfolds. But yeah, like the most interesting thing for me out of the preseason was just trying to find, well, first of all, try and find where to go in Icon Park, because I've never been there. I haven't been there for a long time, and ended up in the most weirdest place. I didn't even know this place existed in any of the stadiums, but I was there with my son and a couple of his friends, and we ended up in a section where there were a whole lot of tractors. So don't know how we ended up there, and then we got told off by the security guards on the way out. But then the next part was just trying to find you. And somehow we saw each other waving from across the other side of the ground. So that was the best part. And then watching the Collingwood seniors play the Richmond under-19s team was a bit of fun. It wasn't so much fun for the under-19s, but
well, they did well for the first half. Which I think might be a bit of it often is with those younger teams on a year, isn't it? Where they sort of really go well for a first half, but then fade away a bit in the second half. And it's kind of what happened last week as well. But it was good. Yeah, it was a good game. It was really interesting seeing it and being outdoors, bit of breeze, but it was a lovely night. And it was awesome. And the other games, I'm sure, were good too.
Yeah, apparently so. So, and we were going to do a ChatGPT version of this, but we thought, no, that's wrong. We can't do that. That's really cheating. So we decided to just do the review that we've just had, and the season 2025. Let's look at that now. So yeah. We're thinking about it from a what do we want to see and what do we not want to see. So it's similar to some of the things we've discussed in the past, and there might be a bit of, a few things that we bring up that we've mentioned in the past. But we're not going to go into them in detail like we have. So it's just more of a, what sort of things do you want to see? What sort of things do you not want to see for the season? So I don't know. I've got my pre-written list here next to me, Wally, but I only mentioned this to you, a few minutes ago, so you haven't really had as much time as me to think about it. But do you have any off the top of your head, or do you want me to start?
I do have a couple, but I'm happy for you to. Well, we can alternate. You can go first with something you want to see.
All right, sure. So just to let you know, we don't have to go through them all, but I've got 10 things I want to see, and I've got 13 that I don't want to see.
Just so before we move on, just have to let all our 3 listeners know that.
I know what you're going to say.
Jez will say, I've emailed you with thoughts for today's episode, and it'll literally be like 4 A4 pages. Like, what the hell, Jez? He's like, I didn't mean to do all of them. Anyway, we'll see how we go with these 23 things. One for each round.
What if I give you, we'll do a ratio 2 to 1. I'll give you 2, you give 1, sort of thing like that. Does that work?
Sure. Are we going to discuss them, or are you just going to say them?
Oh, we can discuss and whatever. However, we'll just play it by ear. So
settle in, folks. Hope you're on a long walk.
You thought our other episodes were long. Just wait for this one. All right. So the first one for me is it's probably, and it's number 1 for a reason. I want to see fast flowing football mixed with contested football, exciting passages, electrifying goals, and gravity-defying marks. The number one thing I want to see.
Who could ask for more?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a good start.
And it actually works perfectly because the first thing that popped into my head was one that I don't want to see, and that was just games getting real clogged up. And yeah, that sort of flooding a little bit when that happens, and just ball up to ball up to ball up to ball up to ball up. Yeah, you want to see the players running and you want to see their skills and that sort of free flowing game. And like obviously at times it's going to tighten up and be a bit closer, but if the majority has that sort of stuff and you get to see those highlights that are so good about the AFL, yeah, that'd be awesome. And we have chatted about a few ideas we've had for rule changes to make it more free flowing in a previous episode as well. So that's why we should run the AFL.
And just to quickly counter that, there was one game that comes to mind. It wasn't so much of a flooding one, but one where there was no scoring. Was the Pies Giants 2023 prelim, I think it was, where there was like the last 10 minutes or whatever. There was no scoring at all. I think you missed that because you had other priorities that night.
I was out.
Or a musical or something. But yes, I mean, like that. So we're not saying no scoring. We're just saying no flooding. It's the style of the game was still interesting even without the scoring. But yeah, that's a really good point. I like that the no clogging up one. One that I don't want to see, which we have discussed also, I think in a previous episode, was I'm getting a phone call on my phone.
Funny, I don't see his phone calls during We Should Run the AFL.
Exactly. No, this was the rule of the week by the umpires.
Yeah.
So from week to week, this week it's holding the ball, next week it's pushing it back, the week after it's pushing into contest, who knows, whatever. I just don't want to see that all the time. I want just consistency. That's what I want. I suppose actually I'm just giving you two.
Yeah, but it's so true, like that consistency and in everything. Like we talk about it all the time, and it's just like we don't want to be confused. And when there's that sort of rule of the week thing, it just gets so confusing watching it.
Exactly.
It's so hard. I like that one. Good.
Yeah. So the consistency what I had with it was between umpires within games, between games, and from round to round. So it's not just changing it. Like it's sometimes we've talked about in the past about having 4 umpires, 4 different interpretations in one game.
Yeah.
And I want more consistency across the board. So anyway, that's that one. Have you got another one, or do you want me to go?
I've got one actually. It's an interesting one. I don't know. I think I don't want to see it, and it's just on the umpiring thing again, because often I guess that it may be right, but I think just the idea when we've got 4 umpires, the closest umpire makes the call, whether they're right or wrong. Like when an umpire like 70 meters away makes a call, I find that even if they're right, I still find it frustrating. It's just like, you got it roll, just let it go. And they're going to get it right more often than not, I think, the close umpires.
I think it's more annoying when you're at the game because you actually don't know what happened. Whereas on TV, you can sometimes hear the mics or whatever, so you get a bit of an inkling. But live, you go, what was that?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's bizarre. And sometimes the umpires are unsighted, and sometimes that just happens. Like we miss those calls, and if an umpire, if the umpire's in the, within maybe 20, 30 meters, that's different. But when they're like 60 meters away and they're calling it, then it's weird. And that's so another thing I don't want to see is things like, well, there's similar things but different. When an umpire will call a free kick so say the ball is, I don't know, on Collingwood's half forward line, and in Collingwood's back line, there's a defender and a forward, and one of them like gives the tiniest tug on the other person's jumper and they pay a free kick when it's not even relevant. They're not going to lead. They don't have the ball, like nothing like that. Those things. And when they pay like hasn't happened as much recently. You used to have them more when they pay a reversal when, like, say we're standing on the ball, I push you and you fall to the ground, and they pay a free kick or flop to the ground. I hate it. Like there's literally almost no way, even if I pushed you, that you would fall down, let alone a 100-kilo footy player getting pushed in the chest.
What do you mean, even if you pushed me?
What I'm saying is 2 big, strong guys like us in the flyweight division, these 80, 90-kilo guys, like if I pushed them, they wouldn't even realize I did it. But even if someone else pushed them in the chest, there's literally no way they're going to fall down unless they want it. And I think if the umpires don't pay it, they'll stop doing it.
Well, yeah, so it's a flop. But and to piggyback onto that is when there's a bit of pushing, shoving, a bit of a scuffle, and players, grab the jumper. You want to stop it? Pay a free kick for holding the man.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah.
That'll stop
That's
that
it.
straight away.
Yeah, and just pick one. Doesn't even matter. Pick a
Yeah,
random one.
exactly.
You
They usually
hold the man.
It's like a ruck contest. Just randomly pick somebody to give a free kick to. It's no
Yeah.
different. So
That's it. Exactly. That's why we should run the AFL.
exactly. All right. So I'll give you another one. One thing I would like to see is, and they won't do this, but I would like to see. Yeah, I'll go with that one. A player of the week. I'd love them to do player of the week like they do in the NBA and everything. They got like this, they usually do it in each conference or whatever. But I know it's a whole different thing, but I love that idea. This player gets the player of the week for their exceptional, I don't know, whatever, however they played on the weekend. I quite like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
bit of a
cool. How
different
do
one
they
out
do?
there.
And what does it happen in the NBA? Like, do they get something for it, or it's just like an announcement
Yeah,
type
I
thing?
think they get a little plaque or something. I don't know. They get something for it, and maybe they get the photo on NBA.com or something. I don't know. They
I
get
like
something
it.
for it. But
Well, it's like in the old days on was it World of Sport or something, where like Lou Richards come in and they get like a little hamper of stuff for like the player of the
yeah,
week, and
exactly.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
like it.
they got a Bertocchi ham, I think, and a few other things. They should get
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
and they did.
And I mean, they've got mark of the week and goal of the week, so why not have player of the week?
Yeah, I like it. And it could be for something not necessarily the usual thing as well. Like the player of the week could be a backman who restricts someone, or just someone who does lots of tackles. Like it doesn't have to be the person who gets 30 touches and 4 goals or whatever, which is obviously that's an amazing game, but just for different things that like almost not the opposite Brownlow, but just something different to those sort of votes. Or
I'm so
every other
glad
sort of votes.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and I promise our listeners out there that this was not scripted, because the next one on my list was Defensive Player of the Year at the Brownlow.
I like it.
So
Yeah,
it's
well,
similar to
why
what you were
not?
saying, but yeah, because the defenders, as we
Recognise them.
talked about, I think last week or whenever it was, the week before,
Yeah.
they don't get that. We did in our predictions one player who's going to get one vote in the Brownlow, and straight away we thought of defenders.
Yeah.
So I think they need more recognition. Yeah.
I love that. Defensive Player of the Year. And then it could even be a vote, even if it's not the umpires, it could be a voting system by someone. That's like even a 3-2-1 each game for the defenders. Us. We just do a 3-2. All right, we're going to do.
Should we do it? Let's do it.
At the end of the year, Defensive Player of the Year.
And don't be surprised, our listeners out there, if it's a Collingwood player, because that's pretty much the only games we're going to watch. But still.
I watch a quarter of the other games every now and then if they're interesting. Hey, they're doing all right. No, that I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe we could also do our own player of the week as well.
Oh, we could too. Player of the week. All right, that's our new segment.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, we could each have one. We could each have a player of the week.
Yep.
And we can, and again, it can be not necessarily the same as every other award there is in the media and the Brownlow and everything, where it's always the same sort of players out there because they're obviously awesome, but just for different reasons why the player's been unreal.
Or we could, if you want, I think I don't know, they do player of the week actually in the NBA. I'm not sure if it's player of the week or player of the month. Maybe that's a better way of doing it. So then you have like a whole period to look at, the players and go, okay, this one over this particular month has excelled, based on whatever criteria. Yeah, rather than
as if we're going to have criteria.
Well, I think our criteria is simply the player of the month, isn't it?
They played for the month.
Yeah, they played 4 games, so that
like
makes
the McDonald's
them eligible.
Award. That's right. It's the encouragement award. That's what we should give, the encouragement award.
Can we do all? I think we need to come up with a list of awards, so we're just going to do them. That 4th ribbon in the 100 meters. We've got to get there.
Keep going. You got this. Come on.
Exactly.
Oh, I love it. I know it was an encouragement award, and it's for just trying hard type thing. But man, did I love getting the McDonald's award playing footy? I thought it was the greatest.
You know what I got every year? I got the trophy for most improved every time. It's like, surely by now I've improved that much, I should be getting like a best and fairest. Or I've just got a a very high ceiling.
Exactly. Or everyone else improved incrementally, but they were so far ahead of you. You just kept catching
Exactly.
up. Oh, love it. That's great. Yeah, cool. Okay, we won't discuss our awards because that'll take the rest of the thing. But yeah, we'll definitely have a few categories each week or month. We'll have a defensive player, a player of the month, and that'll be awesome.
Yep.
And a McDonald's award.
McDonald's.
And then what we should do is do a McDonald's award each week for an encouragement, and then actually like get one and send it to the club for the player.
And can we do like a photo of you and me and a photo of them, like that we hold up as part of the of us giving it to them? Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it a thing. That'd be awesome.
I love it.
McDonald's award. I wonder if you can still get McDonald's awards. Yeah, I guess it's maybe just a voucher or something from McDonald's. We should just get some.
Well, we're not actually sponsored by them. Not that we have a sponsor, but maybe we could make up our own sponsor, and that could be the awards. Like I don't know, a We Should Run the AFL award.
That's right. Some sort of hot chips thing. We'll give them like vouchers to get hot chips somewhere.
Yeah, and the trophy can be like a hot chip, like little bucket thingy.
At the end of the year,
We'll fill it with chips as well.
Oh, that's amazing. We'll actually organise to have chips with the player who wins it.
Yeah, that's a
Hot
great
Chip
idea.
Tuesday with the winner.
Yeah, just not the place that you went to last week, but because they're not open. All right, so I've got another one.
Yep.
Rule of the week. Don't want to see it.
You said that one.
I know. I've got it on my list about 5 times because I really, really don't want to see it. And I'm not kidding you. I actually wrote it on my list about 5 times.
Of your 13 things you don't want, rule of the week is 10 of them.
Yeah, there's only about 7 to be honest.
I love it. All right, what's another one you'd like to see?
Another one I'd like to see. All right, another one I would like to see is a 100 goals kicked by a player this season.
Yes, just the thrill of it getting close would be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Would love to see that. I know we talked about that recently, but yeah, I think it was only from that discussion we had a couple of episodes ago that made me think that would be cool. I've forgotten what it's like. It's been so long since we've had it, but it's actually exciting watching it. Even when it's hardly, it's never a Collingwood player. I still get excited watching all the other players when they achieve it. So, yeah.
Well, it was Buddy. Buddy was last, and was it the year that Buddy and Fev both did it, and like they kicked like 8 and 10 in the 10 in the last game or something to get it? Like kicked a massive amount.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I can't remember if that was the last one, but I remember that. Yeah,
that was weird. Cool. That was 2008, I reckon. I reckon it was when Hawthorn won. Buddy kicked a heap that year.
Yeah, probably was. So it's a while now. What's that? 17 years.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They say no one will ever do it, but I think you were talking to your son about it the other day and saying, Jeremy Cameron can do it.
Yeah,
he kick 4 or 5 goals a week.
Yeah, exactly.
He bags a 7.
Yeah, or
yes, Collingwood probably loves
my tip. Yeah, but that's most of his goals are from outside the boundary line, but that's another topic.
Well, at least the marks are anyway.
Yeah. Do you want me to give you some more?
Yeah, I'm at view to go, and then we can just discuss them. Oh, it's good.
All right, sure. I've got.
We're still going to get to reviewing round 0.
I know. Well, I haven't got too many left on the what we want to see. So I've got I've got more pack marks. So I don't mean just contested marks, but more pack marks.
Big like pack mark.
Yeah, you just don't see too many of them. You see them here and there, but growing up, there seemed to be every game there were pack marks.
Yeah.
Oh, but even before that, like gone blank, that Richmond full forward.
Michael Roach.
Yeah, Roach and these guys, they take these big pack marks. I used to love that. So
100%.
Would love to see more of that.
Yeah, unreal. And best mark I've ever seen. Well, I've seen a few really good marks live. I saw Stephen Silvani's mark of the year back in, I think, 88 it was. I was at the ground for that. But Chris Tarrant, who didn't win mark of the year, got robbed by Gary Moorcroft. But he, but the Tarrant won. And again, that marker was about a pack of 6 or 7 people. It was thrilling being at the ground seeing that. Like, it was unreal. So, yeah, more pack marks would be great.
Drove past Chris Tarrant the other day, by the way, just side note.
Did his biceps hit the car?
We had to have the windows open because they couldn't fit inside the car. I'd like to see 25 rounds of football-focused media, as in, which sort of leads me to one of my what I don't want to see is, where is it on here? None of the
Just after
off-field
rule of the
antics
week.
being focused on and magnified by the media. It's just the whole
Yeah,
season is
that
just talking
footy.
about football, not about this person's done the wrong thing or this person's been
Yeah.
accused of this. Or I just want to, I want a break from it. I'm sure the players
Yeah,
do as well.
exactly. And you're not saying you don't want to report it if it happens. What you're saying, I think, is
No.
you just don't want it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No,
This
of
is,
course,
yeah,
if it happens, it needs to be reported. So, it's not about hiding things. Just would love a season where nothing happens off the field.
yes.
Everything that
Oh,
happens is football related. That
absolutely.
would be nice.
Yeah. One thing in
Um,
terms of media reporting, here's one thing I don't want to see. Any time in the year, I've actually already heard it today talking about the Western Bulldogs injury crisis. I don't want any team to have an injury crisis. Last year, there's about 5 teams that just had, 20 players injured at one point. Like, it was crazy.
and yeah, that was actually number 2 on my list. So yes, 100% agree with you. Yeah, don't want injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're going to have some. You can't. They're not avoidable, but it's just you don't
Yeah,
want
but
the
not
crisis. Yeah,
no. And those big ones, like, Brisbane had whatever it was, needed 4 knee
yeah.
reconstructions last year or something. Like, those big ones. And yeah, one team getting all these, 10, 50, like Carlton and Collingwood and a couple others last year just had massive injuries. And it's like, just sucks. Like, these guys put everything into it and then they're just in rehab all year. It must be so hard for them.
But it's also just from not so much the integrity of the game, but just like you want the best team to beat the best
Yeah.
team with the best players playing. Not like, oh, you won, but we did have a few players missing. Maybe that would have changed the
Yeah.
result or affected it. And you just would never know. So it'd be nice to not have to deal with that. But I know that's been the case since football started. But it'd be nice to to not have that.
But
Yeah.
it's true. And it sort of goes then back to your first point, which we want that free-flowing, high-flying, really good goals, great patches of play. And the top players are the ones that are often the ones that instigate that sort of stuff. So yeah, you want all the you want your best 23, but having 10 players knocking down the door at every team. Like, that'd be
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. That's a good way of putting it. I like it. All right, what else? I've got all possible player milestones achieved, which kind of comes into a little bit with the injuries, but just every player that's could potentially achieve a milestone this season to actually achieve it, not because of injury or anything like that. They actually get it. I think that would be nice to see. And
awesome.
And
there's
then
some big ones coming up too. A few 300s. I think side bottom's 350, and there might be a couple other 250s. I think I was reading a little while back as well. So there's quite a few.
There are quite a few. I think there's a few other 350s as well, not just side bottom. There's some other clubs as well.
I think Dangerfield's getting up there.
Yeah, I think he was one of them. And Boak, I think.
Yeah.
He's
still playing
as well. We'll see him in a couple of weeks. Yes.
Oh yeah, we will.
And the last one I had on my want to sees was, which again we've discussed in the past, was week off before the grand final.
Yeah.
Would like to see that. Which leads into one of the don't want to sees, which was the week off before the finals.
Yes. And I'll add to that with one I'd like to see, which we were sort of chatting about when we were at the game last week. Is it worth them thinking? I know you sort of want to get momentum and stuff, but even change, and I think Damien Hardwick was talking about it as well, but change the preseason. So the last preseason game, there's a weekend off before the next game. So, if someone gets concussed, they can still potentially play opening round and things like that. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah, so or even if they've got a 5 or 6 week injury, as some people get, I can see you. Then
I didn't realize you couldn't see me.
I could, but it was getting a bit darker. So there's some players that miss 5 or 6, but if you're even having that extra week, they may only miss 4 weeks of the season. And so, I reckon a week off from those official practice games. Obviously, they might still do an intra-club or whatever, but yeah, I think just have that, just in case someone happens to get concussed or whatever, it gives them a chance to get in for round 0, which we're going to preview, I reckon, pretty damn soon.
Yeah, well,
unless you got any more don't likes. Don't want to say?
Do, but let me just say that. Oh, yeah, I reckon I've got a good one here.
Okay, rule of the week.
There's probably more, but I reckon why don't we just rule of the week is on here another 2 times, but no, I've got a good. I reckon it's a good one to end on.
Okay.
Don't want to see any more players being medically retired. during the season.
it's been becoming a bit of a thing, isn't it? But mostly concussion. Well, only concussion, but it's becoming such a big thing. You're right, and again, just don't want to see it happening to them. It's just, and because it's obviously affecting them so much they can't play, or there's fear of what might happen if they keep playing. That to be that on that sort of fragile line is awful. So yeah, I agreed 100%.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about opening round, which is going to be shorter than we thought it was going to be. And then I just remember something I need to tell you about that you wouldn't be aware of at the very end.
Okay.
It's happening right now, and between the end of the preseason and the start of the season. So I'll let you know, and it's kind of really silly, but you might like it. I don't know if anybody else will, but I think you might.
All right.
So opening round. Which games are left in opening round?
Yeah, so we're
sad that we've had 2 cancelled. So yeah.
Yeah, we're chatting today. There's been 2 games cancelled from opening round. So the Brisbane and Geelong aren't playing, and the Suns and the Bombers, which are both Queensland games because potential cyclone threat to there. And it's interesting even that when they might play again. So the Lions and the Cats, Brisbane and the Cats, both have their bye in round 3. So there's a possibility they could play in that round. But the Suns and the Bombers, their byes don't match up. So they're going to have to try and work out when that game will actually be played and how they're going to do it. So that'll be interesting as it plays out. So we've got a couple left on Friday night, which may have happened by the time we release this podcast. On Friday night, the Swans and the Hawks up in Sydney, which will be an awesome game. So it becomes New South Wales. And then on Sunday, the Giants and Collingwood play. So both games in New South Wales. And I reckon the Swans-Hawks one is intriguing. I've been watching a few shows this week and listened to a few shows where a lot of people are picking Sydney to still be right up there. And really think they're getting, the new coach. They've got a good list and everything. But again, speaking of injuries, Errol Goulden's out for quite a while with a fractured ankle. And I don't know. I know that you can cover players and everything, but he's really, really good. He's just a really good player. So I think that's interesting to see how psychologically from the last couple of years. I think they're going to drop a bit, but it'll be interesting to see. And then the Hawks, after their massive year last year, how they're going to start off the year this year.
Yeah, it's a really interesting game. I think I mentioned in the past, but I think the Swans, they've still got the talent, so that's not just going to disappear because of a poor day they had last year in September. But I think it'll hurt them psychologically, potentially,
100%,
come finals times, as opposed to during the home and away season. I don't think it'll be as big a factor then. So I think this is a really interesting game. Hawthorn, obviously, they've got they're on the rise, but they've also got a lot more expectations. I assume they've got a bit more of a challenging fixture as well this season. Playing away, opening round or first few rounds, it's always a bit hard. Everyone's sort of almost getting the lay of the land in a way.
Yeah,
it's a really tough one. So in terms of tipping, I don't know who to go with. I reckon I might go Sydney purely for the home ground factor, not for any other reason. I think it'd be like a kick in it, and either team could easily win it. And just because it's in Sydney and it's the first game of the season, I would just going with them, and they'll probably want to, set some things straight basically after their last appearance. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Interesting. I actually think the Swans, even though I think psychologically the last couple of grand finals will affect them during home and away as well. I think they'll win it. I reckon they'll win it quite well, actually. But then I reckon there'll be a slump and they'll miss the finals at some point. So I reckon they'll win their first one, win it quite well, but then drop off is my tip for not just this game, the entire year of Sydney. So we'll see. No, I reckon the Swans will win. I think the Hawks are going to be really good this year, but I think the Swans they'll come out breathing fire this week, but whether they can sustain that, I'm not sure. So it'll be a cracking game though. It's going to be awesome. And then Sunday afternoon, the Giants and the Pies, they're starting to get a bit of a rivalry going after some good finals over the last few years.
Yeah, and I think Cox has tried to add to that as well. Trying to manufacture something. Yeah, it's another tough one. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant. I am confident of Collingwood this season, so I do think both these games are potentially, sort of previews of finals matchups, even a grand final. Who knows? Um, I think I'm trying to think with my head and not my heart on this. And so honestly, I think Collingwood will win, but I'm going to say the Giants for the purpose of this. I think at home, I think they've got a bit to prove as well after their meek effort in September last year, leading both the games comfortably and then
Oh,
getting done.
shattered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so um, but they've got a few outs as well. All right, I'll go Collingwood, but I'm torn between both the games. I think both games could easily go any way.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. I'm going Collingwood quite confidently for this
Yeah.
one, I reckon. Especially, I think last year they didn't play well at all in this corresponding game, and I reckon they'll be pumped up to change that. And last year in general, I think, yeah, I think the Giants, they're an interesting team. And again, I've watched, sort of read about their practice games, but haven't seen a lot about them. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting year for them. And I think the pressure is going to build on them as well. Like the longer they go without winning a premiership or even, well, obviously made a grand final, but got smashed. But that pressure on the team that everyone's like, when they came in, it's like, oh my God, it's going to be the worst. GWS is going to win 5 grand finals in a row with all these players. So they haven't won one. I reckon that's going to keep building that expectation and that pressure. So I actually think it's going to be, I think they'll make the finals, but I reckon it's going to be a bit of a tougher year for them this year.
Well, I think what you just said deserves, like, that topic deserves a whole episode where it'd be if you've played in, it could be several finals, or if you've played in, 2 or 3 recent grand finals without success.
Mm.
At some point, do you decide, let's just strip the club and reset and start again? Or do you try and go, we'll keep the main players, we'll keep topping up and try and get over that hurdle? Or, there's a whole discussion, whole episode, I reckon, on that, especially the way we go, that's at least 2-hour episode.
It is, and it goes both ways. But I reckon looking at teams like Geelong and Brisbane and Sydney in a way, who just do keep going for it and topping up, and they don't have that fall down to 15th or whatever, and that it is definitely doable to come out. And again, Brisbane showed last year and Geelong the year before that you can not make it. I mean, Geelong made how many preliminary finals in a row type thing and didn't win it, but then eventually did. So it doesn't necessarily mean you'll drop down, but I think the pressure does increase, and it's got to be a certain group of players and coaching staff that can sort of stay above that. So I reckon Collingwood, well, here we go. I'm even going to give points. I reckon the Swans will win by 25, and I reckon Collingwood will win by 17.
All right, I'm going to go Swans by, I said a kick in it, so I was about to go more than a kick, so I can't. I said a kick in it, so I'm going to go Swans by 5 points. The kick, I think Heaney will kick a late goal. They'll be trailing by a point. He'll kick a late goal and they'll hold on. And
will it be a late goal after a free kick for being pushed into a marking contest?
No, I don't know if it'll be a free kick. I think he'll take an absolute screamer over top of somebody else who's also on top of somebody else. So it'll be
a big pack mark for you. Yep.
Yeah, but it'll be like 3 stories high sort of thing. And Collingwood, I think we'll win by about 13 points.
Oh.
I think it'll be a bit of an arm wrestle.
I'm going to jump in. Here's something I'd like to see after what you just said then. I want mark of the year and goal of the year to happen this weekend and not get overtaken for the entire year. They're just so good. Nothing even comes close. We're going to see the best goal of the year, best mark of the year in round 0.
Out of 4 teams.
Out of 4 teams. And there'll be 3 amazing contenders, and no one will get close to any of them for the rest of the year.
All right. So my mark of the year then out of the 4 teams is going to go to Heaney, because I just pumped it up. And my goal of the year will be Bobby Hill.
Okay. All right. My mark of the year is going to be a shock. It's going to be quite a surprise. But it could even be like a running back with the. I actually was watching the thing of Collingwood training the other day, and players like Tom Mitchell and Nick Dacos were doing that thing where you mark on the back of the bag on someone's back. And they were just barely getting off the ground. It was fantastic.
That's like watching me jump.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking when I was watching them. I wouldn't even get as high as they did. All right, I'm going to go mark of the year is going to go to, is it the little wizard, Nick Watson, who everyone expects is going to get goal of the year, but I reckon he's somehow going to take like this ridiculous one-hander or something like that. And then I'll do the same as you. I'll do one from each game. So goal of the year, I actually did think Bobby Hill, but I'm going to go goal of the year is going to go to Braden Maynard, who is going to kick a torpedo after the siren from 75 metres out at halftime. It's going to be upon the boundary.
And he's going to turn to steel side bottom and just give him a wink.
Boys.
I love it. It's great. All right. Now, this episode, I reckon it's gone for about 50, 60 minutes at least. But it's been a great one. It's been one of our better episodes, I reckon. It's been just a lot of quality other than our start, and probably what I'm going to finish on. I'll bookend it with a lack of quality, but in between it's been great.
It's like the opposite of what a good gig is, where the first and last song's always the best.
Well, let's be honest, at least we got quality in this episode as opposed to the previous ones.
Exactly. I mean, it's a low bar, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe we should rename it like a spattering of quality instead of We Should Run The AFL. All right, so I want to introduce you to a thing that a few of my friends and I do. And we always wanted to, get it out there and get the world knowing about it. And we've been doing this for 20, 30 years now. And National Towel Awareness Week. Because we decided a long time ago that towels don't get enough recognition. And the connection between that and the AFL is that we decided that it started at the final siren of the last game of the preseason, and it ends at the first siren of the first game of the regular season.
Okay.
Right? So National Towel Awareness. Yeah, so it's happening right now. Yeah. So the rule with it is that you have to take a full-length towel with you everywhere you go.
Okay.
Right? And if you come across somebody else comes across and they know that, that you're part of this game, and they say challenge, you have 1 minute and not a second longer to get a full-length towel and come back. So if you come back in a minute and 1 second, you're out of the game, and you can no longer challenge anybody else. You can still celebrate towels, but you're still expected to carry on around, but you're no longer part of the game. And whoever's left standing at the end with their towel, has that feeling of acknowledgement and, the recognition, I survived National Towel Awareness Week with my towel.
So say it again. So you've got 1 minute to get another towel.
If you're in this, I'd say if I say to you challenge, you've got 1 minute to race off, grab a full-length body towel, and come back and show me your towel.
So my actual towel that I've got in the car or something like that, or another towel.
Well, it just depends. You could have one around your neck. You might be carrying it with you, which you should be doing to raise awareness. But if you didn't have it with you, you can go to the bathroom and get one.
Okay, got it. Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm in.
Okay,
I mean, we haven't got much time left this week.
We don't, and I'm in Adelaide, so nobody here's going to get me. But but see, I usually have soccer tonight, and that soccer is always a risk. So it could have happened, but I'm not playing tonight. So just letting you know about it. All right. So yeah, National Towel Awareness Week. So spread the word, everybody, and come join us next preseason, in between seasons, for National Towel Awareness Week.
NTAA.
Yes,
like exactly. No, NTAW. Yep, we're finishing with quality.
Entor.
Would you enter? 2 men enter, 1 man, 1 towel leave.
Love it. Anyway, and that is why we should
run the AFL.
We're never going to get that right. We've got to practice it.
Oh dear, that was great.
Too funny.
When I think you're going to pour.